never imagined that saying, "I do," would cost her everything. On her wedding day, her wealthy parents publicly disowned her because she married a humble school janitor. She walked away with nothing but Daniel's hand in hers. 8 years later, someone knocked on her front door. It was her mother, and this time, she wasn't there to consult Emma. She was there to vent how Emma met Daniel, their love story, family discovers relationship, huge argument, wedding day disaster, parents cut all ties, Emma leaves forever, life struggles, tiny apartment, money problems, Daniel works 2 jobs, Emma starts tutoring children, years pass, they build an education company, become millionaires, happy family, mother suddenly arrives, family business bankrupt, needs millions, big emotional confrontation, old wounds reopen, Emma forgives, but doesn't forget, powerful ending, character builds a future, pride destroys it. Have you ever been told that one decision would ruin your entire life? My parents looked me in the eyes and said if I married the man I loved, I would no longer be their daughter. I thought they were bluffing. They weren't. On my wedding day, they stood up in front of everyone, called me a disgrace, and walked out, leaving me with nothing except the man they believed would destroy my future. 8 years later, the same mother who erased me from her life stood on my doorstep with tears in her eyes. She wasn't there to apologize. She needed something only I could give her. And for the first time in years, the power was finally in my hands. My name is Emma Carter, and this is the story of how losing everything became the greatest lesson of my life. Different dream. I grew up in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Boston. My father owned a successful real estate company, while my mother spent most of her life protecting the family's reputation. In our house, success wasn't measured by titles. It was measured by money, expensive cars, and the last name we carried. Every dinner felt like a business meeting. Every conversation ended with the same question: what will people think? As their only daughter, my future had already been planned. A prestigious university, a wealthy husband, a perfect image, a perfect life. At least, that was their dream, not mine. I wanted something simple. I wanted peace. I wanted love. One rainy Monday morning, I arrived early at the elementary school where I had just accepted my first teaching job. I was nervous. Everything felt new. As I carried a heavy box of books toward my classroom, the bottom suddenly tore apart. Books scattered across the hallway. Before I could react, someone knelt beside me. "Looks like your first day is trying to test you." I looked up. A man wearing the school's maintenance uniform smiled warmly as he helped gather every book. His name tag read, "Thank you," I said. "No problem," he replied. "It happens to all of us." His smile wasn't fake. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was simply kind. And somehow, that simple kindness stayed with me. An unexpected friendship. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and I crossed paths almost every day. Sometimes he fixed broken classroom chairs. Sometimes he repaired the lights. Other times he simply asked, "How's your day going?" No one had ever asked me that without expecting something in return. Slowly, our conversations became longer. I learned he had lost his father when he was only 16. Instead of going to college, he worked full-time to support his mother and younger sister. He never complained. Not once. Despite earning very little, he always smiled. He believed every honest job deserved respect. That sentence stayed in my heart. Because back home, my parents believed the exact opposite. Falling in love. Months passed. Daniel wasn't rich. He didn't wear expensive suits. He didn't own luxury cars. But every small thing he did made me feel safe. He remembered my favorite coffee order. He walked me to my car whenever it rained. When my students surprised me with handmade thank you cards, he celebrated my happiness as if it were his own. For the first time, I felt loved for who I was. Not for my last name. Not for my family's money. Just me. One evening, after work, we sat on a park bench watching children play. Daniel looked at me and quietly said, "Emma, I don't have much to offer you. I can't promise luxury. I can't promise expensive vacations. but I can promise that every morning I'll choose you. And every night I'll thank God you're beside me." Tears filled my eyes. No one had ever spoken to me like that. That night, I knew I had fallen in love. Keeping our relationship hidden became impossible. One afternoon, my mother unexpectedly visited the school. She wanted to surprise me for lunch. Instead, she saw Daniel holding my hand in the parking lot. Her face turned pale, then angry. The moment we reached home, she slammed the dining room door shut. "Who is that man?" I stayed calm. "His name is Daniel. He works at my school." She laughed. "A teacher?" I shook my head. "He's the school janitor." Silence filled the room. Then my father slowly stood up. "A janitor?" His voice echoed through the house. "Emma, tell me this is a joke." "It isn't. I love him." The next few seconds changed my life forever. My father struck the dining table so hard that a glass shattered across the floor. "You will never marry that man. You belong to this family. You belong to people of our class." I looked directly into his eyes.
"No."
I belong to myself. The room became silent. No one had ever spoken to my father like that, especially not me. The argument with my parents lasted for weeks. Every conversation ended the same way. My father would point toward the front door and say, "Walk away from that man or walk away from this family." They froze my credit cards. They took away my car. Even my college savings account was closed. They believed that if they made life hard enough, I would give up on Daniel. Instead, I said yes to his proposal. It wasn't a fancy proposal. No expensive restaurant. No diamond-covered ballroom. Just Daniel, standing beside the lake where we had shared our first real conversation. He held a simple silver ring in his shaking hands. "Emma, I can't promise you an easy life, but I promise you'll never face it alone." I smiled through my tears. That's all I've ever wanted. The wedding day. Our wedding wasn't held in a luxury hotel. It took place in a small countryside church. Only a handful of friends came. The ceremony had already started when the church doors suddenly opened. My parents walked inside. For 1 second, I thought they had come to bless our marriage. I was wrong. My mother looked around the room before saying loud enough for everyone to hear, "This wedding is a mistake. You are throwing your life away." My father stepped forward. "If you marry this janitor, you are no longer our daughter." The entire church fell silent. I looked at Daniel. He gently squeezed my hand. Without saying a word, he reminded me I wasn't alone. I took a deep breath, turned toward the minister, and quietly said, "I do." My parents walked out without looking back. That was the last time I saw them. For 8 years, starting from nothing. Marriage wasn't easy. We moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment. The roof leaked whenever it rained. The heater barely worked during winter. Some nights, we had just enough money for instant noodles. Daniel worked 2 jobs. He cleaned classrooms during the day, delivered food at night. I taught at school during the week, and tutored children every weekend. Life was exhausting, but every night, we sat together at our tiny kitchen table, laughing about the little things. For the first time, home wasn't a mansion. Home was wherever Daniel was. The turning point. One afternoon, while tutoring struggling students, I noticed something. Many families couldn't afford private education. Parents wanted help, but quality learning was too expensive. Daniel listened carefully as I shared my idea. What if we created affordable learning programs for children? He smiled. Then let's build it. We used every dollar we had saved, bought 2 old laptops, rented a tiny office, worked late into every night. Some people laughed. Others said we would fail. But little by little, families started joining. Teachers came on board. The business grew, then grew again. Within a few years, our small tutoring service became one of the fastest-growing education companies in the state. 8 years later, life looked completely different. Daniel was no longer a school janitor. He was the co-founder of a successful education company. We had a beautiful home, 2 wonderful children, and something money could never buy: peace. Then, one rainy afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. Standing there was my mother. She looked older. Her expensive clothes were gone. Her confident smile had disappeared. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, "Emma, I need your help." The truth finally came out. We sat across from each other in silence. Finally, she looked down. "Your father's company collapsed. We lost almost everything. The bank is taking the house. The business is gone." Her hands trembled. "We don't have anyone else." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 8 years ago, I wasn't good enough to be their daughter. Now, I was their last hope. She slowly reached across the table. "Please, help us." The hardest decision. I looked at Daniel. He didn't say a single word. He simply nodded. He trusted me. I turned back, toward my mother. "I won't help because you deserve it. I'll help because I refuse to become the kind of person who hurt me." Tears rolled down her face. "I know I failed you." "You did," I answered quietly. "But today ends the cycle." We helped them find a smaller home. We paid off part of their debt. But I refused to rebuild the company that had been built on pride instead of kindness. Some lessons must never be forgotten. Ending. As my mother prepared to leave, she stopped at the front door. She looked back and said, "I thought wealth made a family strong. I was wrong. You became richer than we ever were. Not because of money, but because you chose love." After she left, Daniel wrapped his arm around me. I smiled. 8 years earlier, my parents believed marrying a school janitor would ruin my future. Instead, it gave me the life I'd always dreamed of. Sometimes, the people who walk away from you aren't your greatest loss. They're simply making room for the people who truly belong in your life. Final line. True wealth isn't measured by the money you inherit. It's measured by the kindness you choose when life gives you the chance to take revenge.